Hey guys, Martin here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're going to be taking a look at the INT hit, the last of the sub-EZAs from the Kefla Extreme Z battle EZA batch, and he seems like he could be a very interesting unit, more so for like a third slot floater, kind of like the final pick to go on a team if you've already picked the other 5 units, for Kale's team, or even potentially Rose's team, because he's on super bosses and has accelerated battle, so he would be getting the 200% leader skill from Rose, which would certainly be very interesting. His sticker effect is kind of cool. It's probably one of the better ones out of the EZA batches, because they didn't have particularly crazy card arts. His super attack, he greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn, does supreme damage and a high chance to stun, so 50% raise on stats. And then he gets key 2, attack and defense 160. He disables the enemy's guard, which means he does type neutral against physical. He gets an additional 160 attack and defense when attacking, as well as an additional 60% and a high chance to crit if it's a super. So 220% attack and defense on super. Pretty crazy. And a 50% chance to crit as well. He has a great chance to stun in his passive, which will be a 1-turn stun, but it's 70% chance. When an enemy is hit by his super attack, he then has a high chance to dodge that enemy for the duration of the turn. So 50% chance to dodge after he's supered. Pretty good. Only really going to be awkward against AoEs or events where there's more than one enemy, because it only applies to the one that he actually hits. And then from his passive, which this is very interesting, because is this the first time we've seen this randomly on a unit in a passive, especially with this condition? He action breaks the enemy when every time he's attacked twice or more. So on the first turn, we'll do our first attack, and if we do an additional, we'll action break on this turn. If we don't, the first attack on the next turn will be an action break. So the problem with him, I guess, on Kale's team especially, is that when it comes to all the other Universe 6 characters, he's only going to share Warriors of Universe 6, which is 2 key and 6% attack and defense. He's a Shattering the Limit unit, unfortunately, so no Fierce Battle. We've got Shocking Speed, Infighter, Cold Judgment, Supreme Warrior, Experienced Fighters. Like, his links are okay in certain situations, but like some of his best link partners are just random units, like even Hearts and Sealus are on there, like units that you're not going to be running him with on like the Kale team especially, right? So we'll see how we get on here. Of course, we get immediately type disadvantage supered. What a surprise. Let's see how. I mean, the rest of the turn will be fine after everybody else super attacks. We'll get to the heal from Vados, which we didn't get during her showcase, which is... I think I actually forgot to even mention that in her showcase. I was so busy talking about her multiplicative support and everything. But yeah, she gets a 1-time heal, which is very easy to get. It's like 40% heal 1 time only when you're at 60% or less HP. So that's obviously going to come in very, very handy, especially in this situation where we lose a ton of HP on turn 1. I don't know why I thought Kale... I always forget what Kale does. It's only after transforming that she can have the guard with the Universe 6 allies or Caulifla. I thought because Caulifla was on the rotation, she would have guard, but there we go. Eat the big super in slot 1. No additional from here, so we will have to see next time the action break come into play. Now, the big thing with him is he's obviously not going to be good in slot 1 or against AoEs, because start of the turn he had, what, it was like 170k defense. Now he gets 220% on super, so it's basically like 170k times, what, 2.2. So after supering, it would be 374k, and then he does get the 50% raise on super as well, which I'm sure I saw a comment of someone saying it would be that's added on after buffs from their passive. So then that would be 561k after supering, whilst then also having a 50% chance to dodge the enemy that he just hit with his super attack. So that is pretty good. Vados obviously giving us the big heal here, and then we can pick up some same type orbs. Caulifla just going to tidily dodge everything over here in slot 1. But yeah, once we finish with the hit showcase, that will be all of these guys shown off, and then we're definitely going to jump into something like Fusion Zamasu with what I would consider to be the best build of the Kale team. Haven't decided exactly what that is yet, but that's what we'll be attempting to do. Same with Omega. I mean, Kefla will absolutely destroy Omega, because by the time you get to the final phase, you know, she's going to be good to go. So this is the kind of rotation you would expect to actually run him. Like, this is what would happen, right? We'd float him off in slot 3. But we want to keep him on rotation so we can see more from him from the turn. So typical, we can't get the 6 orbs here. We've got type advantage, so we should be all right anyway. We'll do this, and then annoying all placements for the turn. That's the thing with Hit, especially. Like I say, he's gonna be a slot 3 floating unit for the most part on these teams, which is an interesting choice because he doesn't give any support. He's just kind of there doing a bit of extra damage in events where you can stun the enemy. Then obviously he'd be very, very useful. And that action break can come in very handy as well, because now he's getting off his second super attack here, 6.2. We get the action break, and then the enemy can't attack. We then get the dodge. Now, he did do an additional as well on this turn, even though it was only an additional normal, which means on the second turn, or on the, well, it'll be his third appearance, on the next turn, his first attack should also be an action break if it does work that way, which means even if it's a normal, if you get an additional with him every turn, he action breaks every turn. So as a unit that's in slot 3, he's providing a little bit of extra damage, not really helping out with anything with links, but you know, your slot 1 and 2 units are going to share links together, ideally. So he's going to be in slot 3, and that ability of his kind of helps him get around that issue of when like your slot 3 support unit eats a super and dies, because they're obviously one of the weaker units on the team, as most floating support units usually are. So he kind of has a bunch of stuff built in to protect himself from that problem, which honestly, I really wish he was a support unit, because a support unit with that kind of kit, that would be so good. Like a support unit you can run in slot 3, who's buffing the rest of the team, but then if they get an additional super, they action break the enemy, so it protects them from one attack. And they're dodging. I mean, it's only a 50% chance to dodge, but that's going to help him out in a lot of situations. Like, there will be turns where there's only one attack in slot 3, then you put him in slot 3, and he gets the additional, he action breaks. That attack could have even been a super, and it does nothing. Or, of course, there'll be the opposite, where you don't get an additional, or there's more than one attack in slot 3, and then that attack that actually does get through is a super, and he doesn't dodge because it's only 50%, and then, to be fair, against most of the endgame bosses, if his highest for that turn, and I said 170, but at the start of the next turn he was only at 140, so I either misread turn 1 or it was a little bit higher, but that means like 560k defense. That was a high ball for after his super attack. So if he's not dodging supers with that 50%, or he didn't action break them away, then he's going to be dying to the big boss super attack. So he seems interesting. I don't know how much I would put him on the team. Like, if we link him up with Vados, we have Cold Judgment and Shocking Speed as well. That gives us 200k start of turn. So, like, 200k times, what was it, times 2.2, because it's 220%. Well, not, sorry, not, well, it's not times 2.2, is it? It's plus, yeah, times 2.2 is 440, so that's what we're adding on to. So it'll be 640. And then, doing the old calcs on the fly here with the calculator, you love to see it. So then if the 50% defense is calculated after that, then he's up to 640k. So once you add 50% on top of that, he's at 960k defense on this turn after supering, if it does indeed stack that way. I'm sure somebody said in a comment on a recent video, like the 50% on super effect takes into account the things where it says like you get 100% on super. It then gives you 50% on top of that. So if that is the case, then yeah, he's close to 1 million defense after supering, whilst having the ability to action break the enemy and then have a 50% chance to dodge. So he has a lot of stuff built into his kit to be able to protect himself. Now, he didn't get the action break, so I'm assuming it has to be, I guess it can't start re-triggering within the same turn, because he action braked with his first attack on the last turn, then did an additional. Although I should double check, I'll double check the wording just to make sure it is, it might actually be specifically super attack, which does, you know, lower its effectiveness a little bit, but doesn't really take away from the fact that it is a very, very powerful ability. Even if you're not getting supers with him as the additionals, it does mean every other turn he's still protecting himself from an attack, which I think is very good. So let's have a quick double check here. We'll go ahead and transform one of the Kales, and then let's double check it here. I know I literally just read it, but in these newer units it takes a while for it to sink into my brain. Yeah, it only attacks 2 or more times. So I guess it can't reset mid-turn, because he did one attack and it did the action break, then he did another one, and then the next turn would have been the second attack since the action break, and it didn't do anything. So I guess it can't reset during the same turn where you already did one, which I guess is fair. So ideally you want him to be additionaling every turn so that that additional attack is the action break one. But either way, definitely looking interesting. Now, as I say, his biggest problem is going to be Lynx. Because with Vados, we had some extra defense from Lynx. That's where he's going to look crazy good after supering. But if you're even running Vados on the team, you're probably running both of these guys floating in slot 3. So they're never going to actually interact together in slot 2. Or slot 2 and 3. Because Hit's going to be in slot 3, I would imagine. So it kind of... His Lynx is the biggest problem, right? Warriors of Universe 6, and that's it. And that's, I guess, one of the big problems, like, we don't have hits with different names, or, like, transformations or anything. Like, I know a lot of people want to see a Dokkan Fest hit versus Blue Kaioken Goku, or a hit from the Tournament of Power that has, like, the Time Cage domain or something like that, right? All of that stuff would be super cool, except for the fact that Hit is one of those characters that doesn't have a separately named form or anything. So, unfortunately for this guy, when it comes to the Universe 6 team as well, specifically, he's not going to have, like, a lot of, like, link partner options and stuff, right? So, are we going to be able to get the, are we going to get the dodge here with Kale and Caulifla? I don't know how built up they are in terms of their dodge chance, or if we could get immediately supered. Well, we'll see how the turn plays out here. If we get another attack off with Hit, then we do. If we don't, we don't. And we'll see. We should get the action break, because obviously we had one attack on the previous turn. We still have the links with Vados as well as the support, so we should be looking all right here. Vados herself going to get her attack off, massively raise her defense, and then have the 70% chance to dodge. So hopefully she holds her own here against the physical ice. Oh wow, we actually saw her take a hit, 34k from him after supering. Not bad, considering the type disadvantage. And then 6.3. There's only one attack in slot 3, but no, there isn't, because there's the action break, and then we get the additional super. So whilst we now know that doesn't contribute towards the next action break, we do a bit of extra damage. He has the extra chance to crit on super, so he did crit on both of them. So, I mean, there you go. He ends up looking very, very good. I think Hit is... Well, I mean, he's not, like, crazy, obviously. And his biggest downfall is he's got like one link active if you're floating him in slot 3 on some of these teams. But he could make a solid option if you don't know who else to put in as the last unit. Because Kale's team has got a lot of strong units now, but a lot of the older Universe 6 units are just not really worth using anymore. So if you're missing any one of the EZA characters, Hit could definitely fit in nicely in slot 3. I might have to try him out on the Super Bosses team with Rose, since he does get the 200%. But he would probably still just be fulfilling the same role. So I'm not sure how good he would be on that team. A lot of those units want to have big bad bosses, although again, we can get that just by having the slot 1 and 2 partnership. So he could be interesting, but I think the problem is, even though he has those tools to support himself, the question is then, like, why is he on the team? Because he can do a decent bit of damage, but events where you can't stun, he's missing out on that whole part of his kit. And then, yeah, he's not providing support. If he was giving, like, let's say all allies attack and defense 20% or 30%, then you'd want to run him on those teams, and he has the tools to protect himself in slot 3. But otherwise, I'm just not really too sure on if he would make the cut for what we would consider the best teams for Universe 6 or Super Bosses. But being said, he is a solid sub-EZA, which, I mean, Dokkan's been knocking it out of the park with EZAs lately, especially with, like, the anniversary ones, and all of these I think are good. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been The Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.